February 9th, 2004. Cold, snow-dusted roads near Woodsville, New Hampshire. A 21-year-old nursing student from the University of Massachusetts Amherst, Maura Murray, was driving north when her black Saturn sedan skidded off Route 112 and crashed into a snowbank. What should have been a simple roadside assistance call quickly became one of the most compelling and confounding missing person cases of the 21st century. Maura wasn't just missing, she had seemingly orchestrated her own disappearance, giving conflicting reasons for her spontaneous trip north and leaving behind a digital and physical trail filled with red flags. This is not just a story of a young woman who vanished. It is a deep dive into the psychological complexity of a person seemingly running from her life, only to disappear at the exact point where help was offered. The events leading up to her disappearance were a perplexing spiral of anxiety and bizarre behavior. Days before, Maura had emailed her professors and work supervisor, claiming a death in the family required her to travel, a claim later found to be false. She withdrew $280 from an ATM, purchased liquor, and packed a bag containing her toiletries, college textbooks, and seemingly a few days' worth of clothes. She left her apartment door unlocked, her cellular phone behind, and taped a cryptic note to her door saying, "I will be gone for a week." The carefully staged preparations for a trip, combined with the fabricated emergency, suggested a calculated escape, yet the subsequent car crash ruined any chance of a clean getaway. The crash site itself was the pivot point of the mystery. A passing school bus driver who lived nearby stopped and offered assistance. Maura, though visibly shaken, repeatedly refused help, asking him not to call the police. The driver, convinced she was intoxicated, drove home and called the police anyway. When the police arrived approximately 10 minutes later, the car was locked, the airbags were deployed, and the windshield was cracked. Inside, they found a map of New Hampshire, a box of wine, and a stuffed animal. Maura Murray was gone. The short window of time, the 10 minutes between the witness's offer of help and the police arrival, is the critical gap in the case, the exact moment the young woman dissolved into the New Hampshire woods. The investigation that followed was immediately hampered by the lack of clear direction. Was Maura running away to start a new life? Was she distraught over recent personal troubles, including a hit-and-run accident she was involved in a few days prior, and seeking suicide? Or was she a victim of foul play, abducted by a passing motorist after the crash? Her family vehemently dismissed the suicide theory, but the police explored all possibilities, launching a massive search and rescue operation involving hundreds of volunteers, canine units, and aerial surveillance. The rugged terrain and heavy snowfall complicated the efforts, but despite intense searches, not a single trace of Maura or her possessions was found. The location of her disappearance, along Route 112, a remote, dark stretch of road, added a chilling layer to the abduction theory. A passing witness reported seeing a car parked near the crash site and another car driving away at high speed shortly after the crash. Another local resident claimed to have seen a young woman walking a few miles east of the crash site moments after the accident, a woman who eerily resembled Maura. These conflicting reports fueled the speculation that she may have accepted a ride from a passing stranger, either innocently seeking help or being coerced, and met a sinister end. The case gained national notoriety due to its many bizarre details and the active, often intrusive online community that grew around it. Maura's history, including her recent personal troubles and strained relationships, were all dissected publicly, sometimes overshadowing the search itself. The presence of her boyfriend, who initially believed she had run off, and later her family's tireless efforts to keep the case alive, created a narrative filled with conflicting emotions and theories. From her running to Canada to her remains being hidden in a nearby abandoned building. A key focus of the investigation was the possibility that Maura had accepted a ride from someone local. The area around Woodsville is sparsely populated, yet the lack of witnesses to the abduction of a young woman following a clear accident is deeply suspicious. The police theory that she may have wandered off and succumbed to the elements has never been entirely dismissed, given the freezing temperatures and the vast, unforgiving nature of the White Mountain National Forest nearby. However, the complete absence of any clothing or trace evidence makes even this theory difficult to sustain. The relentless online true crime community and dedicated podcasters have kept the Maura Murray mystery alive, often pushing for new angles and challenging the original police work. The scrutiny led to the discovery of several potential, though ultimately unproven leads, including a basement search in a nearby house and the identification of a dark pickup truck seen near the scene. This crowdsourced investigation reflects the public's deep-seated frustration with the lack of closure and the unsettling nature of a disappearance that feels like it happened in the digital age, yet left only analog clues. The lingering questions about her premeditated drive remain central to the mystery. Was the fabricated family death a cover for a planned self-harm attempt? Was she meeting someone on the remote road, and the crash merely intervened with that meeting? Or was the crash the very event that exposed her to an opportunistic predator? The combination of her intentional isolation, leaving the phone, and the accidental vulnerability, the crash, created the perfect storm for a disappearance that has remained impenetrable for over 2 decades. The Forensic Storyteller wants to hear your most compelling theories on what happened to Maura Murray during that fateful 10-minute window in New Hampshire.